Hey everybody, Ragwin here, and welcome to my draft analysis video for the Pokemon Minors League, or the PML for short. It's basically the D-League of the Pokemon Masters League. The Pokemon Masters League is an invite-only league, but their D-League is open to everyone, so I'm in the Pokemon Minors League. Now, just to know, I'm doing the team builder on Showdown, but all of the battles for this league will be on the Switch. It's a Switch-only draft league. I'm just on Showdown for the draft analysis, and then the rest of the videos will be on the Switch. Now, don't worry, I've got it figured out how I'm gonna record the battles. They won't be in as good quality as my Showdown battles, because I don't have a capture card or a laptop to record from the Switch. So, yeah. So I'm just going to be recording from my iPad with it leaned against my pillow, with the pillow at the front of my bed. And then my iPad's just going to be leaning against it and recording the footage, recording it from the TV. And that's how my videos are going to be recorded for the Switch. They're not going to be that good of quality, but it's what I'm going to have to make do with, so that way you guys can see the matches. But anyways, on to explaining my team. And just to note, we can Dynamax any of our Pokemon in this league. There's no Gigantamax, but we can Dynamax any of our Pokemon. Anyways, on to my first pick. My first pick was Corviknight. And I picked Corviknight because I saw Celesteela and I was thinking about picking him up. But, oh yeah, just to note, the people who have Ultra Beasts, they can't Dynamax their Ultra Beasts. Any Pokemon can be Dynamaxed except Ultra Beasts. Sorry if I'm misspeaking a lot in this video for some reason. Anyways, my first Pokemon on my team is Corviknight. I saw Celesteela and I almost picked Celesteela, but then I saw Corviknight available and I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick Corviknight. And he's my only Generation 8 Pokemon that I have on my team. But I picked him up because I saw him and I was as a tier 1 Pokemon, and I was like, you know what? Let's pick him up because he gets Roost, so he gets reliable recovery. And not only that, he doesn't have that great of special attack. He has like 98 base HP, 87 base attack, 105 defense, 53 special attack, 85 special defense, and 67 speed. So he's not the fastest, but with his great defense, he can eat hits really well, and he has decent special defense with 85 special defense, which isn't the worst thing ever. Now, anyways, I thought about him. I picked him up because he gets body press and he gets iron defense, and so he can run iron defense body press, or I can use bulk up and raise my attack and my defense and be able to go for like body slam or brave bird. And he's also a defogger, so he can get rid of hazards, which is really good. And apparently, well, of course he gets like flash cannon, even though he's a horrible special attacker because he is a steel type. But apparently he also gets light screen and like nasty plot. So that's interesting. And he gets reflect. So he gets the screens. And he gets like taunt and tailwind, which is cool. And he can U-turn, so that's cool. He can U-turn out for initiative, so that's good. But yeah, the main reason why I picked him up is because I can use iron defense and body press, or I can go for like bulk up and then go for body press, or like bulk up and go for like bulk up and drill peck. And then facade if he gets like a status condition. And then not only that, he can go for like nasty plot and be special if you really wanted to. Just to be unexpected. So, yeah. Plus he can U-turn out for initiative. And he can use Tailwind to make the team faster, so that's cool. Anyways. And his abilities are Pressure, Unnerve, and Mirror Armor. I'll probably use the ability Mirror Armor because it says if this Pokemon's stat stages would be lowered, the attackers are lowered instead. So like that would mean that the opponent's stats are lowered instead of his. So that would be a really good ability to use because then his stats wouldn't be able to get lowered, and that would be a really good thing. And so because of that, that's why I drafted Corviknight. Now on to my second pick. I had the 8th pick of the draft, so I was last in the first round, but then the second round, I got to go first. So at the end of the first round, I got to draft my tier 1 pick, but then because I was first in the next round, I immediately got to pick my tier 2 pick. And since I was the first to pick my tier 2, I took Mamoswine. And I just figured, even though Corviknight's weak to fire, like Mamoswine's weakness to fire isn't as bad because he gets the ability Thick Fat, so it weakens damage from fire and ice attacks dealt against him. So fire attacks won't do as much damage, or ice attacks. And so that's really useful. And he's a nice ground type, so that's like really nice. And he has 110 HP. He has 130 base attack, so that's a really high attack stat. He has 80 base HP, which is okay, but it's not the best amount of defense. He only has 70 special attacks, so he isn't really a special attacker. He's not a special attacker. Only 60 special defense, so he can't take special hits well at all. And then he only has 80 base speed, but with his 110 base HP and his 130 attack, he can hit like a truck. He can hit like a truck, and he can probably eat up a hit too. And then with his ice and ground typing, that's actually really good. And so yeah. And so I could use like body press with him, or go for like body slam, or go for like curse. And then I could go for like curse and then body press, or like body slam. I could go for like double edge if I really wanted to, earthquake. Endeavor isn't really something I would want to use. Facade I guess I could use if I get statused. Freeze dry, Freeze dry would be an idea. Could be an idea to use. I could use freeze dry for like water types. Heavy slam would be a decent thing to use because he is decently heavy. He does get high horsepower, which I probably won't really have to deal with grassy terrain though, unless they use a grass type theme Dynamax move, Max Overgrowth, because or if they use Rillaboom, because I think someone drafted Rillaboom, and Rillaboom gets the whatever it's called, the ability that brings out the grassy terrain. He gets that ability. And so, but high horsepower could be a move I could use that could make it so that way its damage isn't reduced by the grassy terrain. And then he does get Ice Fang, which is an okay move. But a move I would probably run would definitely be Icicle Crash, because that's a really good move. Or like Icicle Spear. Iron Head I would probably run. And then he does get knockoff, so he's a knockoff user. And then he gets Light Screen. And obviously he gets Protect, and he gets Rest. And he gets Rock Blast, and then like Rock Slide. Sleep Talk. He is a stealth rocker, so that's good. And then he gets Stone Edge, and then like Substitute, and then like Superpower and Toxic. And that's pretty much what he gets. And I'll probably run like any of these moves. Like probably quite a few of these moves. So yeah. And because of that, like the attacks I mentioned, some of the attacks that I mentioned, him being a really good physical attacker and having high base HP stats so he can at least eat a hit. And because he's a really good ice and ground type, and he gets the ability Thick Fat, that's why I drafted Mamoswine. Now on to my third pick. For my third pick, I picked up my favorite evolution, Sylveon. And I've always wanted to draft Sylveon in a draft league, but I've never been able to, and now I finally got to draft Sylveon, which I am so happy about. So yeah, anyway, Sylveon gets some pretty good attacks, and it gets the ability Pixelate, which means that normal type moves become fairy type and have 1.2 times power. And Sylveon, with its 95 base HP, its 65 base attack, has 65 base defense, 110 special attack, 130 special defense, and 60 speed. So Sylveon has like a decent HP stat, and then it has like pretty good special attack, and then 130 special defense, so it can easily take a special attack. But unfortunately, it can't really eat physical hits all that well. Sorry about me misspeaking there again. Anyway, the Pixelate ability will be what I'll be running on it. And anyways, Baton Pass is probably banned in this league because I doubt they would allow us to run Baton Pass. So pretend that Baton Pass isn't even there, but it gets like, but if I did want to run like physical Sylveon, I technically could, because I have seen people do it before, and it is crazy. But sometimes just to throw opponents off, people will run attacks on a Pokemon that normally isn't like special, but they'll run special attacks on it, or they'll run like physical attacks on a Pokemon that isn't normally a physical attacker, but they'll run physical attacks on it anyways to like throw people off. So I could like run like Body Slam and then run like Curse and then run Curse and then have Pixelate Body Slam. I could technically do that. Or I could just be special and run Calm Mind. And then Sylveon also does get Dazzling Gleam. It gets Double Edge, which I probably won't be using, because why would I use Double Edge with all the recoil damage it does? It does get Facade, which is interesting. And then it is a heal bell user, so that's good. And then Hyper Voice is like probably one of the main things I'll be running on it because Pixelate and Hyper Voice, it's just like really strong and yeah. Nothing else to be said. Pixelate and Hyper Voice is really powerful. Pixelate Hyper Voice is powerful. And yeah, I'll definitely be running Pixelate Hyper Voice on this thing. On Sylveon. And then it gets Iron Tail, but if I wanted to run it physical. And then it does get Light Screen, which is good. So I can set up Light Screen and weaken special attacks for a certain amount of time. It does get Magic Coat to bounce back hazards too. And then obviously Sylveon gets Moonblast, which is another very good move. But another move that I'm excited about having Sylveon for is it gets Mystical Fire, which means that it can hit Steel types for super effective, which is really good. It's a new move that it gets in Generation 8. Mystical Fire isn't a new move in Generation 8, but it's a new move that Sylveon gets as of Sword and Shield, so that's awesome. And then obviously it gets Play Rough, it gets Protect. Psyshock is nice for wanting to use a special attack to hit their physical defense. And then it gets Reflect as well, so I can set up the Reflect and reduce damage from physical attacks. Sylveon gets Rest. And then Sylveon also gets Shadow Ball, as is a standard with all evolutions getting Shadow Ball. And then it gets Stored Power, so I could use like Calm Mind. And go for Calm Mind Stored Power if I really wanted to. It gets Substitute, so if I wanted to run Substitute, I could. Sylveon technically doesn't get Toxic in Sword and Shield, even though it shows Toxic here. That's technically illegal to run on evolutions in Sword and Shield. It does get Weather Ball, which is interesting, but I won't be running Weather really, so no point for Weather Ball. And then Sylveon is a Wish user, so that's good if I want to go for like Wish Protect, or go for Wish and try and heal up one of my other Pokemon. And then Sylveon also gets Yawn if I wanted to like put one of my opponent's Pokemon to sleep. Or make them switch, because they don't want their Pokemon to go to sleep. Anyways, now on to my next pick. My next pick, I picked up Xatu, because I wanted something, I know it's another flying type, but it's also psychic type, and I just figured that I just really wanted Xatu. And one of the reasons why I wanted Xatu is because he's a lower tier Magic Bounce user. Like, the only two Pokemon that I know of that get Magic Bounce in Generation 8 are Espeon and Xatu. And Espeon was like a tier 2 Pokemon, so yeah. And I already got my tier 2s, being Mamoswine and Sylveon, so I needed like a lower tier Magic Bounce user. And Xatu was still around, so I decided to pick up Xatu. Because Magic Bounce makes it so that way this Pokemon blocks certain status moves and bounces them back to the user. So because of that, like if a Pokemon tries to go for Toxic or Thunder Wave or Will-O-Wisp, it'll just bounce them back, and it'll just go back to the opponent, bounce back to the opponent, which means it won't affect Xatu. Xatu will just bounce it back, making my opponent rethink about bringing status moves, like the ones I mentioned, or even like hazards like Stealth Rock, Spikes, toxic spikes, stealth rock. It'll make them think twice about bringing those, which is like really nice, because then they might not want to bring them in case I bring Xatu, and I would just be able to bounce them back. But anyways, that's part of the reason why I picked Xatu, but also he only has 65 base HP and 75 attack. He has 70 defense, which is low, and only 95 special attack and 70 special defense. And then he has 95 basic speed, which isn't the fastest, but yeah. It isn't the fastest, but it is decent speed, but it's not above 100. But it's at least like probably the fastest thing on my team as of this point. So yeah. Anyways, he's just a cool psychic flying type with magic bounce, and I just love Xatu. And he gets moves like Calm Mind, and then he gets like Air Slash. He gets Curse, so I can run him physical. He gets Dazzling Gleam. He gets Defog, so he's another Defogger. Even if my opponents would be too scared to run hazards because of magic bounce. He gets Double Edge, which, why would I use that? He gets Expanding Force, which only works on psychic terrain, so that will probably be useless in most cases. Gets Drill Peck. He gets Facade. He gets Giga Drain, which is interesting. Grass Knot. He actually gets Haze, so I can remove stat buffs with Haze, which is good. And then he gets Heat Wave, which is interesting, and then Light Screen, and then Magic Coat to bounce hazards back another way. And then he gets Nightshade to do an automatic 50 damage to the opponent because we play at level 50. And then obviously he gets like Psychic and Psyshock. He gets Quick Attack, which is good. And then he gets Reflect and Rest. And he gets Reliable Recovery and Roost. And then he also gets Shadow Ball and Steel Wing. And then he also gets Stored Power. And then he gets Substitute and Sucker Punch. He also gets Tailwind. And he gets Teleport to switch out for Initiative. And then he gets Toxic, which is interesting. And then he gets Trick, so I can trick the opponent an item. And then he gets Trick Room to make slower Pokemon go first. And then he gets U-Turn to U-Turn out, which if I didn't want to use Teleport, I could just use U-Turn to do a little bit of damage and then switch out for Initiative. And then he's another Wish user, so that's good. And then he also gets Zen Headbutt. And I guess he does get Cosmic Power, which is interesting. Doesn't have the best defenses, but Cosmic Power could be good if I wanted to go for the Cosmic Power Stored Power strategy, which I could do. So that's a strat I could do. Anyway, with everything that I've shown, that is why I drafted Xatu. Anyways, now on to my next pick. I drafted this in the DLC, and it's been doing me somewhat good, like pretty good for me in the DLC, so I decided to draft it here. And that Pokemon is Lantern. And I just really like Lantern because it's a bulky water. It's a lower tier bulky water Pokemon. And it gets the ability Volt Absorb, which is really good because it makes it immune to electric type moves, which is good. Because then it makes my opponent think about using electric type moves against me. Plus, Lantern resists fire attacks, so that's good. Because Corviknight and Mamoswine are weak to fire, although Mamoswine has thick fat to reduce the damage from fire type attacks. He's still weak to it. And so now finally having a Pokemon that's resistant to fire attacks is really nice. And having it be a bulky water electric type is really nice. And with that Volt Absorb ability, making it so it's immune to those electric type moves. Now Lantern has a really good base HP stat with 125 base HP. It only has 58 attack and 58 defense, 76 special attack, 76 special defense, and 67 speed, so it's pretty slow. But it doesn't have the best special attack in the world, but because of its base HP stat, it can at least eat a hit. Especially if I give it like a Shuka or Rindoberry, it'll be able to eat a super effective hit and then be able to dish a hard-hitting blow back. And so, yeah. Lantern can dish a hard-hitting blow back, especially if it eats up a super effective attack by eating up a Rindo or Shuka Berry. And so yeah, I can run like Blizzard on it. I can go for Curse and go for like Aqua Tail, run physical. I can go for like Dazzling Gleam. I can go for Discharge for the 30% chance to paralyze. I can go for Double Edge, but why would I? Because of the recoil. Again, I'm saying that. I could go for Facade. If a Pokemon statuses me, I could go for Facade and be able to deal double damage because of Facade. Another nice thing is that Lantern gets Heal Bell, so it's another Heal Bell user. And then it gets Ice Beam. And then it gets Scald. And Rest. And then it gets Sleep Talk and Substitute. And Sucker Punch. And then Surf. And then it gets Thunderbolt, Thunderwave, so it can paralyze the opponent. And then it gets Toxic. It can Volt Switch out for initiative. Waterfall, Wild Charge. And that's pretty much it. Those are some of the moves that I'll probably be using on it. Probably like Discharge or Heal Bell or Ice Beam. Or Scald. Or like Thunder Wave, Toxic, Volt Switch. Maybe even Thunder if I really want to. Hydro Pump is another move that it gets. And Dazzling Gleam, I might even run Dazzling Gleam on it if I really want to. But yeah, those are some of the attacks that I'll probably run on it. And then I'll probably run like Toxic or Thunder Wave and then Volt Switch. And then Surf. But I'd rather run Scald because of the burn chance. And then those are some of the things that I'll probably run on Lantern throughout the season. I might even run Rest if I really feel like it, just if I really want to get healed up and be able to like continue using Lantern. I might even think about running Rest. Or even Substitute. I might even run Substitute maybe. Think about using Substitute because that could be a really good strat. And so with some of the moves that I mentioned, those will probably be some of the moves that I use throughout the season. And also Heal Bell. I'll definitely run Heal Bell on it. And so yeah. Because Lantern's a bulky water and it gets Volt Absorb and it being a water electric type with Volt Absorb, I already said that. And it being able to eat up a super effective hit with a Rindo or a Shuka Berry and being able to dish a hard hit back with water, ice, electric or like dazzling gleam. That is the reason why I drafted Lantern. And being able to like volt switch out and then like go for like a Thunderbolt or like Thunderwave or Toxic. And then going like for like substitute. Those are the reasons why I drafted Lantern. Anyways, now on to my next pick. And it's a Pokemon you're all familiar with me having by now. And that Pokemon is Gallade. I have him in DLC Season 2. I have him in the TPL, Pokemon Teams Premier League. And I have Gallade now in the Pokemon Minors League. The only league I don't have him in is the Pokemon Singles Team League, and that's because the coaches drafted in that league and they didn't draft Gallade. But anyways, in all the draft leagues I've drafted Pokemon for myself, I've always drafted Gallade. And I love Gallade. He's a really good physical attacker. He has 68 base HP, so not the best. But he has that 125 base attack. He only has 65 defense, so he's lacking on the defense stat. So he can't take physical hits well at all. And he only has 65 special attack, so he's not a special attacker by any means. But he has like an awesome 115 special defense. And so he can eat special attacks really well. And he has 80 base speed. So he's not the fastest thing in the world, but he can at least eat up a special hit fairly well. And his abilities aren't like the best thing, but yeah, he either gets steadfast or justified. So not the best thing ever, but he is pretty good. And he gets like Body Slam, Brick Break. He gets Bulk Up so I can raise his attack and defense. He gets Calm Mind, which why would I run Calm Mind? Because he's not a special attacker at all. But I guess if I wanted to catch people off guard, I could run a Calm Mind special attacking Gallade if I really wanted to. And then he gets Close Combat, he gets Dazzling Gleam, he gets Destiny Bond, he gets Disable, another Double Edge user. He gets Drain Punch, so that's really good. Earthquake. Encore if I really wanted to run Encore. Energy Ball. He gets Expanding Force, which is only used in Psychic terrain. He gets Facade. He gets Fire Punch. He gets Focus Blast. Focus Punch, which why would I use that? But then again, I could run Substitute Focus Punch, and that can be a really good strat. Substitute Focus Punch. My older brother Nathan came up with that strat, and it's actually pretty good. Substitute Focus Punch, because then you have a substitute. You set up a substitute, and then the next turn you go for Focus Punch. And then because you have a substitute up, the substitute will take the hit, and then you'll be able to get your Focus Punch off because the substitute would have taken the hit. So that's a strategy you could go for, Substitute Focus Punch, which I never really thought about, but it's a strategy that could work if you really wanted to use it. He gets Grass Knot. He gets Hyper Voice too. Wouldn't be near as strong as Sylveon's Hyper Voice, but if I wanted to run Hyper Voice on it, I could. He gets Ice Punch. He's another knockoff user. He gets Leaf Blade. He gets Light Screen. Low Kick. He gets Magic Coat to bounce back hazards. Memento. Pain Split. He gets Poison Jab. Power Up Punch. Protect. Psychic, Psycho Cut, Psyshock, Reflect, Rest, Rock Slide, Shadow Ball, Shadow Sneak for priority, Sleep Talk, Stone Edge, Stored Power, Substitute. I guess if I really wanted to, I could run like Swords Dance and then go for Stored Power, and because of the Swords Dance boosts, Stored Power would be really strong. And then he gets Taunt, and he can teleport out for initiative, Throat Chop, Thunderbolt, Thunder Punch, Thunder Wave, Toxic. He can also trick the opponent an item. He's another trick user. Trick Room, Triple Axle, Will-O-Wisp. He's a wish user too. X-Scissor, then Headbutt. And if I really wanted to, I could run, I know these are the usually useless moves, but I could run like Aerial Ace, Bulldoze for Bulldoze if I really wanted to, Charge Beam, and yeah. And those are just some of the attacks that I could run. I could run in physical or special if I really wanted to catch people off guard. And he can use Taunt and teleport out for initiative, and he's like a Toxic user and another trick user, and he can Thunder Wave, and because of that, that's why I drafted Gallade. He also gets like Aura Spear and Air Slash as well. And yeah, and him being an all-around good physical attacker, and if I really wanted to catch people off guard or run him special, I could. And him being like a decent psychic and fighting type, and being the only psychic and fighting type in Sword and Shield, that is why I drafted Gallade. Now on to the next part of my team. Let me go over to it real quick. My next draft pick that I'm going to talk about is Amoonguss. I now have him in the DLC, and because I dropped Cresselia in the DLC for Amoonguss, and now I have drafted Amoonguss in this league too. And Amoonguss is a really good Pokemon because he's grass and poison type. He has 114 base HP, 85 base attack, 70 defense, 85 special attack, 80 special defense, and 30 speed. And yeah. That is, and he does have the ability Effect Spore, but the ability I'll probably be running on it will be Regenerator, because that way, whenever I switch him out, he'll restore 1/3 of his maximum HP when he switches out, which is actually pretty good. So yeah, and some strategies I'll probably run on him will probably be like Clear Smog. I could run Clear Smog to remove stat buffs, which could be nice. I probably won't run Energy Ball. Facade I could run, I guess. Foul Play I could run to hit them with opponents with our high attack stat. Giga Drain I'll definitely be running because Giga Drain is really good for sustainability, for being able to weaken the opponent while being able to sustain Amoonguss's life. Grass Knot I could run to attack heavier opponents. Hex if I really wanted to. I could run like Spore Hex, and that would make it so that way Hex would do double damage because the Pokemon would be asleep. Or I could run like Toxic Hex, which would be interesting because then Hex would do double damage because of the Toxic. So that would be interesting. And then I'll definitely be running Protect. I might run Rest. Rest would be an interesting one to run. Seed Bomb is interesting. Sleep Talk I'll probably run. Sludge Bomb I'll definitely be running. And another reason why I drafted Amoonguss is because he was a lower tier Pokemon and one of the only two Pokemon in Sword and Shield that get Spore. And Spore is a very key thing for Amoonguss. And another thing, I can also run Sub on him. And I can have Synthesis to heal. And he gets like Toxic. And Stomping Tantrum. But I'll probably mostly be running like Clear Smog, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, Spore, Toxic, Synthesis, maybe even Substitute, and Protect. Giga Drain if I didn't say that already. And I might even run Foul Play if I really want to catch people off guard. And maybe even Stomping Tantrum just to have a ground type move. So yeah, those are some of the things that I'll probably run on Amoonguss. Maybe even Grass Knot to hit heavy Pokemon. And yeah, those are some of the things that I'll probably be running on Amoonguss. And because he's a very bulky Pokemon, gets the ability Regenerator, and gets Spore and Toxic. That is why I drafted Amoonguss. Now on to my next Pokemon. I got sniped this in the DLC by Neil Patel, but I managed to draft it again in this league. I didn't get it in the TPL because someone had already drafted it in the TPL, but in this league, the Pokemon Minors League, or the PML, I managed to get my good buddy Kanto Weezing back. And you all know how much I love Kanto Weezing. I had it in DLC Season 2 and DLC Season 2.5. Anyways, I love Kanto Weezing because he's a poison type that gets Levitate. And I love that. Because Levitate makes it so that way he's only weak to Psychic types. And that is very nice. And that is very nice because that means he only has one weakness. And the cool thing about him is he gets like Clear Smog. So I can remove the opponent's stat buffs with Clear Smog if I really wanted to. And then I could run Curse, but Weezing doesn't really get that many physical attacks. But I can also run like Dark Pulse on him, a Fire Blast, a Destiny Bond, so that way when the opponent takes out Weezing, they also take out their own Pokemon. I can run Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Haze, so that way I can remove stat changes. He's another Haze user. Heat Wave I could run. Paint Split, Protect, Shadow Ball, Sleep Talk, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave I could run Substitute on him. Taunt, Thunder, Thunderbolt. He's a Toxic user. He also gets Toxic Spikes and Will-O-Wisp. He's a Will-O-Wisp user, which is really nice to have. And because he's a very physically bulky Pokemon, and he can mostly eat up a physical hit pretty well, and he doesn't have that bad of special attack, and he gets some interesting special attacking moves, and he can Toxic Pokemon or Will-O-Wisp them to cripple and half their attack stat. That's why I drafted Weezing. It's because he's very physically bulky, and he can be very good on the special attacking side, and he can cripple his opponents with Toxic and Will-O-Wisp. And he's immune to ground type attacks, and that's why I drafted Weezing. Now for my next pick, this was actually my last draft pick, but I'm going to talk about it now because I'm not exactly going in order here. But my next pick that I'm going to talk about is Heliolisk. I drafted Heliolisk, and who's an electric and normal type. Now, I didn't really have the fastest draft in the world at this point, so I needed something fast, something decently fast, that could hit decently hard. And so I thought about it, and I know I already have an electric type in Lantern, but Lantern's more of a bulky Pokemon, and I wanted more of an offensive electric type that was of a lower tier. And so I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? Heliolisk can be pretty good, so I decided to draft Heliolisk, who's an electric and normal type. And he only has 62 base HP and 55 attack and 52 defense, so he can't take a physical hit at all. But he has like 109 base special attack, 94 special defense, so not the worst special defense in the world, 109 speed. So he's pretty fast, and he's above the 100 base speed point, being 109 base speed. So he can outspeed base 100 Pokemon. And not only that, he gets the ability Dry Skin. So yeah, which means that if he's hit by a water type attack, he's healed by 1/4 by water type attacks, 1/8 by rain, and is hurt 1.25 times by fire attacks, and 1/8 by sun, and he's hurt 1/8 by sun. Or I could run solar power if they're going to be running the sun, or a fire's Dynamax move. Then, if the sun is active, then this Pokemon's special attack is raised by 1.5 times, 1.5 times, but it loses 1/8 of its maximum HP per turn, which would be useful to make it stronger in the sun. But anyways, Heliolisk is pretty fast, and he's a really good electric and normal type. And he gets moves like agility, so I can make him faster. Dark Pulse, Discharge, he gets Dragon Pulse. Dragon Tail if I wanted to make the opponents automatically swap out to a random Pokemon. Facade, he gets Fire Punch, he gets Focus Punch, he gets Glare to paralyze the opponent, he gets Grass Knot to hit heavy Pokemon. He gets Grass Knot to hit heavy Pokemon harder. Iron Tail, Light Screen, which is nice. I could run Low Kick on him. He gets Quick Attack for priority. Rest. He gets Rock Slide, Sleep Talk, Substitute, if I want to run Substitute on him. Surf. He gets Thunderbolt, Thunder Punch, Thunder Wave if I want to paralyze them. Toxic. I can U-turn with him. U-turn out for initiative. Volt Switch. He gets Volt Switch. Weather Ball if I want to run Weather Ball, but I don't really have any Pokemon involving weather on my team, so why would I run Weather Ball? And Wild Charge, which why would I run Weather Charge when it takes recoil? But I can Volt Switch out with him, so he's a Volt Switch user, or a U-turn user. I can run Volt Switch or U-turn. And he also gets Toxic to whittle away the opponent. And I don't think I saw it here, but yeah. if I didn't say it, he gets hyper voice. So he can hit really hard with his stab hyper voice, which is nice. And so yeah, him being really fast and being able to hit really hard with his 109 base special attack is why I drafted Heliolisk, being a normal and electric type. And because he's a pretty good special attacker, and if I really wanted to run him physical, I could to catch the opponent off guard. And yeah, that is why I drafted Heliolisk. Now on to my final pick of the draft. And I have this in the DLC and it's doing pretty good for me. And I loved it ever since I was a kid. And that Pokemon is Nidoqueen. I drafted Nidoqueen because it has the Sheer Force ability. Which makes it so that this Pokemon's attacks with secondary effects have 1.3 times power and nullifies the effects, which means that moves with added effects will do more damage. And because of that, Nidoqueen has 90 base HP, 92 attack, 87 defense, 75 special attack, 85 special defense, and 76 speed. So it can't really take a hit well. It has okay stats, but not the best. But it can be run mixed, having 75 base special attack and 80 and 92 attack. So you can run it special if you really wanted to, especially when Sheer Force boosts the power of the attacks. And another reason why I drafted Nidoqueen is because it's a really good ground, poison, and ground type. And it gets amazing coverage like Aqua Tail, Blizzard. It gets Body Press. It gets Body Slam. It gets Brick Break. Crunch. It gets Curse if I want to run Curse and then be physical. It gets Double Edge, another Double Edge user. Dragon Pulse. Dragon Tail. Drill Run. Earth Power. Earthquake. Facade. It gets Fire Blast, Fire Punch, Blank Thrower. It also gets Focus Blast, Focus Punch, Hex, High Horsepower, Home Claws if I wanted another attack, if I wanted to run it physical. Ice Beam, Ice Punch, it gets Outrage, Poison Jab, Protect, Reflect, Rest, Roar, Rock Blast, Rock Slide, Scorching Sands, Seismic Toss, Shadow Ball, Shadow Claw, Sleep Talk, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave, Smackdown, Stealth Rock, it's another Stealth Rocker, Stone Edge, Substitute, Sucker Punch, for priority to hit the opponent first before it attacks Nidoqueen, Super Fang, to take away half the opponent's health. Superpower, Surf, it's another taunt user. Throat Chop, Thunder, Thunderbolt, Thunder Punch, Toxic, and Toxic Spikes. And I guess if I really wanted to, I could go under usually useless moves and run like Aerial Ace or like I could run like Aerial Ace if I really wanted to. But anyway, those are some of the moves. Those are a lot, pretty much what Nidoqueen gets. And with the diverse amount of coverage it gets, and it being a decent poison and ground type, with all the coverage that it gets, and with the Sheer Force ability and being able to run a Life Orb on it with Sheer Force, making it so that way moves with additional effects will do more damage. And it not having to take the Life Orb recoil if the move has an additional effect. And is exactly why I picked Nidoqueen. And it being able to be a mixed attacker, so I can run it physical or special. And that is why I drafted Nidoqueen. Anyways, that's my team. And just so you know, the battles start next week at the time of you watching this. They start in the third week of January 2021. That's when week 1 starts. So expect a week 1 battle next week. So, yeah. But anyways, for the week that you're watching this, the second week of January, after this video, expect my week 6 DLC Season 3 battle, and then expect my TPL Season 1 battle for the second week of January. Anyways, that's it for this video. Just so you know, the battles for this league will be on the Switch. I was just on Showdown for the team, for the draft analysis. And yeah, the rest of the battles will be on the Switch. Anyways, that's it. Anyways, see you guys in the next video. Redwin out!